guys did a good job collecting your slope and just making sure that you were confident in everything that you were doing. Okay? Slope is so important, and we're going to continue to work with it today. So a linear relationship is a direct variation with the ratio of y to x is constant m. We make the statement that y varies directly with x, and you're going to see this a lot today. The slope of a graph of y equals mx is m. So if you're given an equation, the slope is the number that is multiplied by x, or the coefficient of x. Every direct variation equation will go through the origin. Direct variation equations are proportional. They have a constant rate of change, they create a line, and they go through the origin. The amount of money Robin earns while babysitting varies directly with the time as shown in the graph. Determine the amount of money that Robin earns per hour. When they ask you this, when they talk about per or each, they're really talking about your slope or your rate of change. So what they're asking us to do here is, hey, use the graph, find the slope, and explain to me what that means. You guys did okay yesterday with the graphs, like counting your lines, but truthfully, you were better when they gave you 2 points and you used the slope formula. In this, because it's a graph, technically you could count the boxes, but what we have to be careful of, your y-axis does not go by ones. So if I'm being honest, I don't usually count the boxes or count the grid lines. I write down 2 points that are on the graph and then use the slope formula. So if we look at our graph, can anybody give me an x comma y coordinate of a point that is a perfect cross on the graph? Lane. I would absolutely agree. 2, 15 is a point on that line. Jacob. 4, 30. Okay, so now we have our 2 points. Just like we've been doing, we label xy, xy. Which letter goes on top? Y. So which y value would you like to start with? 15 minus 30 divided by 2 minus 4. 15 minus 30, negative 15. 2 minus 4, negative 2. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. Now, because they're asking us how much she earns, it's acceptable to have a decimal for money. So what is 15 divided by 2? 7.5 or 750. 7.50 over 1. And now the reason I put it over 1 is because we want to be able to put the label on it. Just like you did back in 3.1 worksheet. Your y number is on top, so what label is going to go on your 750? Money. Your 1 is on the bottom, which is like your x. What label goes on x? Hours. So we really wind up with $7.50 every 1 hour. So the question really says, determine the amount that Robin earns per hour. We would say, Robin earns $7.50 per hour. We know that from the slope. We know that from our rate of change. Okay, all slope today. Sometimes, though, they're going to write it in sentence format. 2 minutes after a skydiver opens their parachute, they've descended 1,900 feet. After 5 minutes, they descended 4,750 feet. If the distance varies directly with the time, at what rate is the skydiver moving? Now, again, rate is like your slope. They're wanting us to find the slope. The difficulty is this. You're like, which one's x? Which one's y? Right here, it says varies directly with. Whatever is in front of that phrase, in this case, distance, is your y. Whatever is after the phrase is x, or in other words, time. So if I want to make an x comma y point, I need to find a time and a distance that go together. Can anybody tell me a time and a distance that would go together? Gatlin? Thoughts? 5 minutes and 4,750 feet. What's this word? Descended. What does that mean? It's got to be a negative. Okay? 5 minutes, that skydiver has gone a negative 4,750 feet. What's my other point? Tori? Very good. 2 minutes and negative 1,900 feet. On your own, use your slope formula. Calculate the slope, and I'm going to ask you in just a minute for your answer. Check my math. I got negative 950 over 1. Is that right? Okay. What label goes with that negative 950? Feet. What label goes with my 1? Minute. So it says, at what rate is the skydiver moving? How can I have a negative 950 feet? Descending. The skydiver is descending at 950 feet per minute. So looking for that phrase, varies directly with, will help you line up which one's the X and which one's the Y. Bless you. So we've looked at a graph and how to find the slope, and we've looked at some sentences and found the slope. And now they're going to give us tables, words, graphs, or equations to represent them, but now we're going to compare. When you compare things, you tell me which one's larger, which one's smaller, which one's better, which one's worse. Okay, so number 2, the distance y in miles covered by a rabbit in X hours can be represented by the equation y equals 35x. The distance covered by a grizzly bear is shown in the graph. Which animal is faster? So now they've given us information about 2 separate animals. All they gave us about the rabbit was the fact that y equals 35x. And the grizzly bear, we're going to use the graph. Here's my question. What is the slope or the rate of the rabbit? If all they told us was y equals 35x, what is the slope or the rate of the rabbit? $35. The slope of a graph that's written as y equals mx is m. The number multiplied by x is your slope. So for the rabbit's case, my slope is 35 over 1. Slope is always y on top. In this sentence, what do they tell us y is? Kind of get labels. What is the label of your y's? Distance in miles. The 1 is on the bottom, which is your x. Our x label is hours. So that rabbit moves at 35 miles per hour. I need to compare it to the bear. The easiest thing to find the slope is to have 2 points. Well, that was kind of them. They gave us 2 points. 1 comma 30 and 2 comma 60. Find the slope. Technically, a lot of people use that second Y, but I have found that you guys are more consistent if we just use the first Y. Ultimately, all they're saying is the Y and the X that are first have to be from the same point, and the Y and the X that are second have to be from the same point. Technically, it doesn't matter which one you use first. How fast is the bear? 30 miles every 1 hour. So the real question is, which animal's faster? The rabbit. How do you know? It is a higher rate of change, therefore it is faster. The rabbit has a higher, I'll even let you put ROC, rate of change, which means it is faster than the bear. It covers more miles every hour than the bear. Okay, flip it over. David wants a new job, or he's trying to decide if he needs a new job. His earnings for 4 weeks at his current job are shown in the table, and his earnings vary directly with the number of hours worked, meaning you have a constant rate of change. They could take a new job that will pay them, I fixed this typo on yours, $7.35 per hour worked. Which job has the better pay? Explain. So Damon could take a new job where they'll be paid $7.35 an hour, or keep the current job. But the problem is we don't know what he makes currently. How can I figure out the pay per hour from that table? JC. Careful. Lane? No. What are we trying to compare here? Slopes, right? Our rates. How do I find the rate in a table? How have you found the slope in a table? So many people today are like, those swoop things, Ms. Hoff. The swoop. Find the change. What's the change from 15 to 12? Minus 3. How about 12 to 22? Plus 10. 22 to 9. Minus 13. Now go on the other side. 112.50 to 90. Negative 22.50. 90 to 165. Plus 75. 165 to 67.50. 97, 98. 97.50. Okay, so what do I do next? Okay, which one goes on top? Y. What's my first Y value? Negative 22.50 divided by negative 3. What's my next Y value? 75 divided by 10. And the last one, negative 97.50 divided by negative 13. A negative divided by a negative. Positive. What is 22.50 divided by 3? 7.50? $7.50. So 750 over 1. Take 75 divided by 10. 750 over 1. On the last one, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. 97.50 divided by 13 is 750. That's a good thing they're all the same, agreed? Okay. So, where's the better pay? Should Damon stick with the current job or the new job? The current job pays how much? $750. What's the new job pay? $735. My pen totally quit on me here. Okay? So you would make a statement that Damon should keep the current job as the pay is higher per hour. Yeah, it might have been minimum wage when this was written, maybe. I think it is 9 something. I hope I make more than $9 an hour. Finally make $9 an hour. That's not good. I may quit. Okay. These last 2 problems, you guys have been rock stars so far. These last 2 problems, if you follow my process and procedure, you'll be fine. You'll get them right every single time. But if you try to suddenly start taking shortcuts, you're like, oh, I can do this faster my own way. You're going to get them wrong. You're going to get frustrated, and you're going to have to spend more time because you're going to have to redo them. 2 columns. Keep it organized. Question? I do? I'm pretty sure I make more than $63 a day. No, it's not. For you guys, maybe. But you have to remember I have to pay for a house and for electricity and my cell phone and my TV and my internet and my gas and my electric and my insurance and my car payment and my credit card payment, gas, food, clothes. I don't have a mom and dad that can pay that. Okay? All right. Suppose that y varies directly with x and y equals 8 when x equals 20. Here's number 1. Write a direct variation equation. That's the very first thing we're going to do. The second thing we're going to do is we are going to find y when x equals 10. In order to write a direct variation equation, we're going to use the initial information they gave us, which was y equals 8 when x equals 20. All day today, we have worked with the direct variation equation y equals mx. We just talked about that, right? M is our slope. We do not want m in our equation. We need to calculate m. So we're going to use the fact that y equals 8 and x equals 20. I'm going to replace y with 8. M is going to stay in m. X is going to be replaced with 20. I put 20 in parentheses to remind myself that 20 and m are really multiplied together. If I want to solve for m, how do I undo multiplication? I divide both sides by 20. On the right-hand side, my 20s cancel, leaving me with an m. If you type in 8 divided by 20, you get a decimal. And what are Ms. Hoff's thoughts on decimals? I hate them. So what do I do with 8 over 20 then? Simplify. What can be divided out? You could divide out a 4, right? You wind up with 2 over 5. Double check, can you reduce it further? Okay, to write the direct variation equation, you're always going to have a y. You're always going to have an equals. Instead of m, you're going to replace it with 2/5, and you're always going to have an x. Every single equation looks like this. Stop. Other than you're going to have a different number for m. That's your first answer. Now, for part 2, we have to take that equation and write it down again. Y equals 2/5 x. The second thing we're doing is we're finding y when x equals 10. So now I'm going to use the equation I just wrote to find y. So do I know what y is? No. So I'm going to leave y as y. I know 2/5 is 2/5. Do I know what x is? 10. Now, because I'm taking 2/5, a fraction times 10, I'm going to write 10 as 10 over 1. Everybody good with that? Now I'm multiplying these. What's the first thing I should do? Simplify. What two numbers? 5 and 10. 5 becomes a, 10 becomes a. Now multiply across, top times top, bottom times bottom. In other words, y equals 4. There's my two answers. Y equals 2/5 x is the equation that we can create, and then I can use that equation to find my next y value. If you can stay organized in two columns like that, you'll be fine every single time. Let's do it again. Suppose that y varies directly with x, and y equals -16 when x equals 8. Write a direct variation equation, then find y when x equals 16. So first, as our direct variation equation, we always start with y equals mx. What's replacing y? -16. I leave the equals. I leave the m. What's replacing x? 8. Now, I want to solve for m. What do I do to solve for m? Divide both sides by 8. On the right-hand side, the 8's cancel. M equals, that's nice, but I'm not done. My direct variation equation looks like y equals -2x. That's my direct variation equation. I always end my first step with that equation. Don't quit on m. Don't quit on m. Now, part 2, I'm going to find y when x equals 16. Rewrite the equation we just came up with. Y equals -2x. Am I going to replace y?
No. Yeah. No.
No, because I'm finding y, right? Am I going to replace x with +16? What do I do to -2 and 16? Multiply. Y equals -32. That's your y value. I promise you, if you don't try to skip steps and you keep it in these two columns, you'll be fine. So today, your worksheet says things like, at what rate, aka slope, earns for each, aka slope, which job pays more an hour, aka slope. Then you're going to get down here. I will tell you right now, 5 has a typo, and I'll leave this up here. This 20 is supposed to be a 50. You have a couple direct variation equations to finish it off. You are not handing this in today. You will bring it to me tomorrow. We'll grade it at the beginning of class. Tomorrow, we're going to take a few minutes of notes, and we're going to do the same exact thing online. Okay? All right, when I give you a worksheet, fix number 5 right away so that you don't get home without having the correct number.